I'm just trying to decide if I'm comfortable even talking about that.
This one's wife. Oh yes, she's brought it up again. Hello, I'm H.G. Tudor. Many years ago, this one's wife told a story. It's a story that she'd recalled several times. And she originally, apparently in a Vanity Fair interview in 2017, explained that she had taken exception to an advertisement. The narrator for the advertisement said, "Women are fighting greasy pots and pans with ivory clear." But the voiceover was later changed from women to people after apparently this one's wife wrote in to complain. She was just aged 11 when she wrote to Procter & Gamble, P&G, to change what she saw as a sexist dish soap commercial. She mentioned this in the interview with Vanity Fair in 2017. She trotted this out when she was at the United Nations. She decided to give that an airing about her conquering Procter & Gamble in that way. She also, not too long ago, banged on about it back in March of this year when she was on the panel at the South by Southwest event in Texas. At the time, of course, there was a suggestion that the chair of the panel was taking the piss because she invited this one's wife to talk about it, saying that we'd not heard it before, or that certain people hadn't heard it before, which of course she's trotted it out so many times before. She'd also mentioned it in 2019 when she had a panel discussion with Annie Lennox of the Eurythmics and the former Prime Minister of Australia, Julia Gillard, where she talked about the Procter & Gamble instance again. Accordingly, we've heard it in relation to Vanity Fair, in relation to the United Nations, at the panel in 2019, at the South by Southwest, and she's brought it up again. Yes. Once more, we get the delights of this story, where apparently, when she was appearing in Colombia at an event which was to do with Afro women and power, she told the anecdote again. The Mail reports, this one's wife continued in English to retell her childhood story about writing to Procter & Gamble. I was very, very fortunate at a young age to feel as though my voice was being heard, she said. And I think that is a luxury that a lot of young girls and women aren't often afforded. Now, you recall that the revision of history that this one's wife utilises with regard to bringing up the past concerning this anecdote is that she single-handedly took on the titans and corporate power of Procter & Gamble to force them to make the change. Whereas information later came to light that it was actually part of a class project and she didn't do it single-handedly. However, narcissism doesn't want to give credit to other people, so it takes a grain of truth and passes it off as the truth by suggesting that she is the one that was the individual on her own that compelled this to be the driver for change. Now, interestingly, as Tom Bauer explained in his book Revenge, the anecdote that she told to Vanity Fair in 2017 was actually cut from the cover story after consulting Procter & Gamble and advertising historians. The actual fact was that she was furious at the time that her battle with P&G was omitted by Vanity Fair. Journalist Sam Kashner revealed that Vanity Fair's fact-checkers had raised questions about its accuracy, and after consulting Procter & Gamble and advertising historians, they concluded they couldn't prove the whole story. They also couldn't find any evidence, as this one's wife claimed, that she received a reply from Hillary Clinton. Thomas Markle, her father, knew that Clinton and Procter & Gamble had not replied to this one's wife. The success of her campaign was fictitious, apparently invented by Thomas Markle, and something which this one's wife has run with ever since as a means of bringing up the past in order to influence the now. Thus, we have a story that isn't even accurate, that she repeatedly brings up. And she does it again in Colombia. Why? Well, she needs to influence the audience. And she wants to influence the audience by demonstrating how, in her belief as a young girl, she did something amazing. Thus, it's all about her. Look at me. I engaged in my famous feminist dish soap story. In actual fact, it isn't as she suggested it, although she doesn't realise that. Her narcissism tells her that she's the hero of the story. Nevertheless, she keeps on trotting it out because, once again lacking awareness, she thinks that it's a wholly successful story. She doesn't pick up on the fact that people roll their eyes and go, "Oh, for the love of God, not this story again." It also demonstrates the fact of just how beige and boring she is. She hasn't any other achievements that she can mention. There's this half-true achievement from over 30 years ago that she rolls out. It's like a corpse that she keeps digging up, but she's dug it up so many times its left arm is missing and part of its head has caved in. She has nothing else to offer because she is such an empty individual that really hasn't achieved much in her life. And so, with the complete sincerity, which many of us find hugely entertaining, she sits there and tells this story as if nobody's ever heard it before. Because in her world, well, because I'm talking about me, you should all be absolutely awestruck by this story. The world, having heard it several times already, goes, "Fuck me, not again." She's flogging that dead horse once again, and it's not even true. But she doesn't pick up on that, because in that moment, the narcissism is wanting her to control the audience. So it looks at its panel of manipulations that are available to it. Imagine it's like a huge keyboard, and it selects bring up the past. And then that brings up another screen of all of the things that she can bring up from the past. It's not particularly full because she's particularly dull. But one of the things that she can bring up is, touch the screen, feminist dish soap story. And thus she does it again. And she does so without any shame, without any irony, without any recognition that not only is it not fully true, but it's been trotted out so many times before that people are just left shaking their heads. Thus, she brings it up again. This must be the 5th, possibly the 6th time that she's done so. Those of you that have had a bullshit bingo card for Colombia, I wonder if you had that as one of the items that you will be looking for. The feminist dish soap story against Procter & Gamble. But I'll tell you something. It'll get mentioned again before long. This underpins the necessity of the utilisation of a revision of history by way of bringing up the past to control the now, and also underscores just how dull she is. I'm H.T. Tudor. Thank you for listening.